The Kagitingan-class patrol boats have been a key part of the Philippine Navy's surface fleet for decades. Introduced during a time of rising regional maritime security challenges, these fast attack crafts once symbolized the country's attempt to modernize its coastal defense. However, in 2020, the Philippine Navy officially retired the aging Kagitingan-class patrol boats from active service. Today, on the Reverend Line, we take a deep dive into the story of these boats and their origins, role, limitations, and the reasons behind their retirement. This chapter marks both an end and a new beginning for the maritime defense of the Philippines. The Kagitingan-class patrol boats were originally built in Germany for the Philippine Navy during the 1970s. These fast attack crafts were envisioned as compact but heavily armed vessels, designed to respond swiftly to coastal threats. They were classified as missile-armed patrol boats, a bold move at the time for a nation with limited naval capabilities. The design was based on the German Albatros class, but customized for Philippine use. The vessels featured a distinct, sharp hull and a low profile that made them suitable for both open sea and littoral operations. Initially, there were plans to equip the boats with surface-to-surface missiles, but due to financial limitations and shifting priorities, the missiles were never installed. This meant that, while they had the physical design and space to be missile boats, they ended up being used primarily as gun-only patrol craft. Armed with a 76mm Otomela main gun and secondary machine guns, they were still considered potent against small threats and useful for maritime patrol, anti-smuggling, and anti-piracy operations. There were 4 boats built in this class: BRP Kagitingan, PG-101, BRP Bagong Lakas, PG-102, BRP Katapangan, PG-103, and BRP Bagong Silang, PG-104. Among these, only a few remained operational into the 2000s. BRP Kagitingan and BRP Bagong Lakas were among the last to be retired. Over the years, these vessels saw action in various maritime security missions and contributed significantly to coastal interdiction efforts, especially in southern Philippines. Despite their initial promise, the Kagitingan-class boats faced numerous issues throughout their service life. The most prominent was maintenance. The German-designed systems were complex and not easily sustainable locally. Spare parts were difficult to source, and as years passed, the boats became increasingly unreliable. The lack of missile armament also meant that their combat role was limited compared to modern fast attack craft used by other Southeast Asian navies. Over time, the Philippine Navy tried to modernize parts of the boats, including communications systems and radar upgrades. However, these attempts were mostly stopgap measures, unable to compensate for the aging hulls and obsolete engines. The performance issues were further aggravated by budget constraints that limited large-scale overhauls. Many naval experts considered the Kagitingan class outdated by the early 2000s, yet due to lack of replacements, they remained in service for another 2 decades. By 2020, the condition of the remaining Kagitingan-class vessels had deteriorated significantly. Operational costs had risen, and the boats required more time in maintenance than in actual deployment. The Philippine Navy had also begun receiving newer and more capable patrol assets, such as the multi-purpose attack craft, MPACs, and acquisitions under the revised AFP Modernization Program, RAFP, were on the way. These developments paved the way for the final retirement of the Kagitingan class. The decision to decommission these boats was part of a larger shift in strategy by the Philippine Navy. The focus was now on interoperability, modularity, and technological capability. The Navy understood that modern maritime threats required faster, smarter, and better armed vessels. it also recognized the importance of logistics and sustainability, opting for platforms that could be locally maintained and integrated into a digital battle space. While the decommissioning of the Kagiting class may seem like the end of an era, it also symbolizes the transformation of the Philippine Navy into a more future-oriented maritime force. Retiring these boats clears the way for more capable vessels to take their place. The new generation of patrol assets being introduced into the fleet are equipped with modern sensors, improved seakeeping abilities, and, most importantly, missile systems that can actually be deployed in defense scenarios. The Philippine Navy has also been increasing its participation in multilateral exercises, coastal defense drills, and joint operations with allies. These new platforms offer better synergy in such missions, which was something the old Kagiting-class boats could no longer support. For instance, new acquisitions from South Korea and Israel are filling the capability gap and offering long-needed flexibility in naval operations. Yet, it's important not to forget the legacy of the Kagiting class. These boats served during a time of limited resources and growing maritime challenges. They were the Navy's answer to a pressing need for coastal security during a politically and economically difficult time. They may not have fulfilled all the roles envisioned for them, but they stood ready and contributed to national defense in the best way they could. Their retirement also serves as a reminder that modern warfare constantly evolves. Ships that once were considered cutting-edge can become liabilities if not supported with upgrades or replaced in time. For countries like the Philippines, which face complex maritime security challenges in the West Philippine Sea and Sulu Celebes regions, naval modernization is not optional, it's essential. In the coming years, the Philippine Navy plans to build a more balanced force, one that includes frigates, corvettes, missile-armed patrol boats, and submarines. The vision is to defend the nation's vast maritime domain, ensure freedom of navigation, and uphold sovereign rights over disputed territories. The lessons learned from platforms like the Kagiting class will shape future decisions on design, procurement, and deployment. As for the retired boats, they may be scrapped, converted for training, or displayed as historical vessels. Regardless of what happens next, their contribution remains part of the naval heritage of the Philippines. For a navy that once struggled with underfunding and obsolescence, every asset, no matter how flawed, played a role in keeping the maritime borders secure. In 2020, the final chapter of the Kagiting-class patrol boats was quietly written. Their silhouettes will no longer patrol the shores, but their service will be remembered by those who served aboard them and those who understood the value they brought in their time. This chapter closes as the Philippine Navy prepares for a future that demands more than just presence at sea. It demands power, deterrence, and the ability to protect the nation's interests with modern and capable force. Thank you for watching the Reverend Line. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the history of the Philippine Navy's Kagiting-class boats, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. We'll be back with more stories on defense, strategy, and maritime transformation from Southeast Asia and beyond. Until next time, stay informed, and stay alert.